Welcome to our deep dive into the history of Rwanda's leadership since its independence in 1962. Now, you might be thinking, Rwanda? That's a whole country? I thought it was just a Marvel movie set, and you know what? You wouldn't be the first. But in all seriousness, Rwanda has a rich and complex history, and today, we're going to explore the achievements and challenges faced by each president, shedding light on the nation's journey. Get ready to learn about coups, economic development, and unfortunately some really tragic events, but hey, that's history for you, right? It's not all sunshine and rainbows, it's more like sunshine, rainbows, and then sometimes a whole lot of rain. But through it all, the Rwandan people have shown incredible resilience, and that's something worth talking about. So buckle up, grab your thinking caps, and let's dive in. We begin our journey with Gregoire Kayibanda, Rwanda's first president, a man who played a pivotal role in the country's transition from colonial rule to independence. Imagine stepping into those shoes, leading a nation fresh out of colonialism, with the weight of an entire country's hopes and dreams resting on your shoulders. It's like being handed the keys to a brand new car, except the manual is in a language you don't understand, and the car's been through a few fender benders already. You have to figure out how to drive it, fix it, and keep it running smoothly. Kayibanda, a Hutu, was all about establishing a Hutu-dominated government, aiming to empower his community after years of marginalization. Now, on the surface, promoting unity among Hutus might sound like a good thing, right? It was a way to build a strong, cohesive community. And hey, maybe in a perfect world it would be. A world where everyone gets along and works together for the common good. But in Rwanda, with its history of ethnic tensions, it was like trying to put out a fire with gasoline. The divisions were deep and complex. See, Rwanda wasn't just divided between Hutus and Tutsis. It was like someone drew a line down the middle of the country and said, okay, you guys over here, you're Hutu, and you guys over there, you're Tutsi, and you guys over there, you're Tutsi. This arbitrary division created a sense of us versus them that permeated every aspect of life. And just like that, your entire identity, your opportunities, your place in society were determined by this arbitrary line. It was a system that bred resentment and division. Kayibanda's policies, while aiming for unity, ended up fueling the fire of ethnic division. His efforts to promote Hutu solidarity inadvertently deepened the rift. It's like when you try to separate egg yolks from the whites, but you accidentally drop the yolk, and then you're just left with a big, messy situation. The more you try to fix it, the messier it gets. And as if ethnic tensions weren't enough, Kayibanda also had to deal with a struggling economy. The challenges were immense and multifaceted. Imagine trying to bake a cake, but you only have half the ingredients and the oven's broken. You have to improvise and hope for the best. That's basically what he was dealing with. Every step forward was met with new obstacles and setbacks. Despite his efforts, poverty and inequality remained major challenges during his time in office. The dream of a prosperous, united Rwanda seemed ever elusive. Next up we have Juvenal Habyarimana, who came to power in 1973 through, you guessed it, a military coup. This was a time when coups were almost a rite of passage for many African leaders. Because what's a good presidential history without a little bit of dramatic power grabbing, right? It's almost like a prerequisite for the job. Habyarimana, also a Hutu, promised stability and progress, and you know what? He actually delivered, at least for a while. His promises resonated with many who were tired of the constant turmoil. Under his rule, Rwanda experienced a period of relative calm. The streets were peaceful, and daily life seemed to improve. Habyarimana focused on rural development, which is like saying he focused on making sure the countryside wasn't just a place where cows went to retire. He aimed to uplift the rural communities and improve their livelihoods. He also introduced a single-party system, which, depending on how you look at it, is either a great way to ensure everyone agrees, or a great way to silence any opposition. It was a double-edged sword. And let's not forget about the infrastructure projects. These were ambitious and aimed at modernizing the country. Roads, bridges, schools, it was like a construction boom had hit Rwanda. The landscape was changing rapidly. But here's the thing about building things. You need a strong foundation. Without it, everything is at risk of collapsing. And unfortunately in Rwanda, that foundation was still riddled with cracks of ethnic division. These divisions were deep-rooted and persistent. Habyarimana's regime, while seemingly stable, was also becoming increasingly authoritarian. The grip on power was tightening. Think of it like this. Imagine you're at a dinner party, and the host keeps turning up the music every time someone tries to disagree with them. It creates an illusion of harmony. Sure, it might look like everyone's having a good time, but underneath it all, there's a sense of unease. People were pretending, but the tension was palpable. And then, in 1990, the Rwandan Civil War broke out. The facade of stability shattered. Remember those cracks in the foundation we talked about? Well, they finally gave way, and the whole country started to crumble. The underlying issues could no longer be ignored. Habyarimana's plane was shot down in 1994, an event that sparked the Rwandan genocide, one of the darkest chapters in human history. The consequences were devastating and far-reaching. Now we enter a truly dark period in Rwanda's history, the Rwandan genocide. Theodore Sindikubwabo, also a Hutu, became interim president during this horrific time. And when I say horrific, I mean it in every sense of the word. Imagine a world where your neighbor, the person you once shared a cup of tea with, suddenly turns on you because of your ethnicity. That's what happened in Rwanda. Over 100 days, nearly 1 million Tutsis and moderate Hutus were brutally murdered. Sindikubwabo's government, instead of stopping the violence, actively participated in it. It was like watching a group of firefighters show up to a burning building, and instead of putting out the fire, they just started throwing gasoline on it. The world watched in horror as this human tragedy unfolded. Sindikubwabo's regime was eventually overthrown by the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, a Tutsi-led rebel group. Sindikubwabo fled into exile, but the scars of the genocide would forever mark Rwanda's history. After the genocide, Rwanda was like a house ravaged by a hurricane. Everything was broken, shattered. It was in this context that Pastor Bizimungu, a Hutu, became president in 1994. Imagine being handed the keys to that house, knowing the immense task of rebuilding lay ahead. Bizimungu's presidency was all about picking up the pieces, trying to put Rwanda back together. He focused on reconciliation, a monumental task after such unimaginable horrors. It's like trying to glue a vase back together after it's been smashed into 1,000 pieces. It's painstaking, delicate work, and there's no guarantee it'll ever be the same again. Bizimungu also worked to establish justice, setting up courts to try those responsible for the genocide. But justice, as we know, can be a complicated thing. How do you even begin to hold people accountable for such atrocities? How do you ensure fairness while also addressing the need for healing? However, Bizimungu's presidency was also marked by struggles with the RPF, the very group that had brought an end to the genocide. The RPF, now a powerful political force, dominated the government, and Bizimungu often found himself at odds with them. It's like being invited to a party but then realizing you're the only one not in on the joke. In 2000, Bizimungu resigned from office and was later imprisoned on charges of corruption and inciting ethnic hatred. His presidency, though brief, was a crucial step in Rwanda's long journey towards recovery. And finally we arrive at Paul Kagame, the current president of Rwanda, a figure both celebrated and controversial. Kagame, a Tutsi, and the former leader of the Rwandan Patriotic Front, has been in power since the year 2000, steering the nation through turbulent waters. He's often hailed as the man who brought Rwanda back from the brink, the architect of its remarkable economic recovery, transforming it into a beacon of hope in the region. Under Kagame's leadership, Rwanda has undergone a dramatic transformation, with its skyline now dotted with modern buildings and bustling urban centers. He's focused on developing the economy, attracting foreign investment, and turning Rwanda into a tech hub, aiming to make it the Silicon Valley of Africa. It's like someone took that old broken-down house we talked about earlier, renovated it, and turned it into a modern high-tech apartment building full of promise and potential. Kagame has also prioritized national reconciliation, promoting unity and forgiveness among a population scarred by the genocide. He's like the therapist who comes in after a family has been through a major crisis, trying to help them communicate, rebuild trust, and move forward together. But Kagame's rule has also been met with criticism, with many questioning his methods and approach. His critics accuse him of being authoritarian, of suppressing dissent and limiting freedom of speech, creating an environment where opposition is stifled. They argue that while Rwanda has made great strides economically, it's come at the cost of political freedom and human rights. It's like building a beautiful house but forgetting to put in any windows, leaving it incomplete and lacking transparency. Kagame's supporters, on the other hand, argue that his strong leadership is exactly what Rwanda needed after the genocide, providing stability and direction. They say he brought stability, security, and economic prosperity to a nation that desperately needed it, lifting millions out of poverty. Love him or hate him, there's no denying that Paul Kagame has left an indelible mark on Rwanda, shaping its present and future. His legacy, like the country he leads, is complex, multifaceted, and full of contradictions, reflecting both progress and challenges. Rwanda's history of leadership is a testament to its resilience and capacity for transformation, showcasing its enduring spirit. From the struggles of early independence to the horrors of genocide, the journey has been arduous. And finally, to a period of remarkable recovery and rebuilding, the nation's journey continues to be shaped by its leaders and their vision. We've seen how each president, faced with unique challenges and opportunities, has left their mark on Rwanda's history. Some led with vision and progress, driving the nation forward, while others stumbled amidst division and tragedy, causing setbacks. But through it all, the Rwandan people have shown an incredible ability to adapt, rebuild, and strive for a better future together. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of Rwanda's presidential history and its impact. We hope you've gained a deeper understanding of this complex and fascinating nation, its past and its present, and that you'll continue to follow its story as it unfolds into the future.